Live from iRacing's virtual Talladega Super Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to this special presentation of the premier sim racing and the SimGamingExpo Truck Series live on Green Flag TV. Well, a lot of familiar faces in the newest truck series to hit the iRacing service, and as always, happy that you're with us on a Wednesday night for the first of 9 weeks en route to a 2025 championship, where there is certain to be a lot of excitement, and that is not just because Talladega here tonight is playing host to the opener. Downstairs, our producer is Dustin, Ollis, and as always, with Derrick Watson, my name is Evan Posocco. And Derrick, first off, happy to be with you with a bit of a new setting, but some familiar faces as we see the Premier Sim Racing take off for race number one.
Yeah, Premier Sim Racing is here in live race number one, broadcast number one. I'm excited to do it. As did a lot of faces we're familiar with, some new names we're going to get to know over time, and of course, one of the most exciting racetracks to start it off with. If we can take a look at the schedule here, you'll see we're going to start at Talladega. We're going to go from the fastest and the biggest track on the schedule, Evan, to maybe the smallest, fastest track on the schedule at Bristol Motor Speedway. Then we'll move into Rockingham, then Dover, Texas, Kansas, North Wilkesboro, Charlotte Motor Speedway, and Nashville Super Speedway. And you'll see all the associate sponsors there. Of course, tonight, the Goodyear Commercial Tire of Fort Wayne 215 is where we are at Talladega.
And it's not just all of those associate sponsors on these races that are going to make this season possible. We also want to say a big thanks to all of the partners of everybody at the Premier Sim Racing, and it starts at the top with our friends at the Sim Gaming Expo. Get ready for the ultimate simulation gaming experience. The Sim Gaming Expo is bringing all genres of simulation and gaming technology under one roof. Join us September 5th through 7th in Chicagoland at the Schaumburg Convention Center to try out the latest gear from the biggest brains in the industry, meet your favorite streamers, and celebrate your passion for simulation with our incredible community. Don't miss out. Get your tickets now at SimGamingExpo.com and be a part of simulation gaming history.
Next up is Miracle Flow. Miracle Flow is more than just hair care. It's built for the bold. Born in Rochester, New York in 2015, Miracle Flow was created out of vision and necessity to level up the flow and the lifestyle that comes with it. Made right here in the USA, our products are crafted for quality and performance you can feel. Now, whether you're lined up with the boys getting ready to go to war or stepping out looking sharp, Miracle Flow keeps you looking fresh and feeling unstoppable. No shortcuts, no gimmicks, just real results that speak for themselves. Miracle Flow, because your flow isn't just style, it's a statement.
Also, CTN NB1, in racing and in life, every second counts. And that's the spirit behind CTN NB1 Connect and Cure, a team of families, researchers, and advocates chasing bold breakthroughs for the syndrome, a rare genetic condition impacting movement and development. They're funding cutting-edge research, fast-tracking treatments, and giving hope to families across the globe. One cure won't fix it all, so they're driving many solutions for every child. Want to make an impact? Join the movement and help cross the finish line to a cure by heading to Cure, C-U-R-E, CTNNB1.org to get involved. CTNNB1 Connect and Cure, one mission, many solutions.
Next up is Profit Python. Now, every second counts in the track, and in making money, like a perfect pit stop, the right deal is at the right time means big, big profits. Introducing Profit Python, the ultimate Discord for deal hunters and side hustlers. Get blazing flash alerts on price drops, secret sales, and hidden jackpots before anyone else. The race profit is on. Don't get left in the dust. You join them now at www.whop.com/ProfitPython. Profit Python. Strike fast, profit faster.
As well, on behalf of our friends over at Regan Boga Motorsports, speed is just the starting point. Success is built through discipline, focus, and development. At Regan Bogue Motorsports, our iRacing coaching is built to develop winners. Through one-on-one training, we focus on the fundamentals that turn fast drivers into champions. Smart racecraft, disciplined decision-making, and pressure-proof performance. This isn't about chasing quick results. It's about building the foundation for lasting success. Regan Bogue Motorsports, developed for wins, built for championships.
And last, thank you to our race sponsor, the Goodyear Commercial Tire of Fort Wayne. Coverage of today's race is brought to you by Goodyear, celebrating 100 years of an American icon. Since 1925, the legendary Goodyear blimp has inspired generations to keep looking up and keep driving forward. Goodyear, more driven.
So big thanks to all of those partners who are bringing tonight's broadcast coverage to you possible for the first race of 9 on this SimGamingExpo Truck Series campaign, and we get our first live look at on-track action. So practice is come and gone, and now we are in the 5-minute single truck qualifying session. We are likely going to see some of the tightest intervals out of any of the stops on the calendar year. And I was going to say there's not a lot of nuance to qualifying at a place like Talladega, and maybe that is in part true, but I think the nuance is what is going to separate a P1 qualifier from a P30 qualifier. Everybody knows generally what you got to do, so it makes those fine details that much more important. Look at Robert Barney working the throttle pedal there at 175 miles an hour.
Yeah, and you saw that way that truck was wobbling, and those small lane changes he's making just left and right. That would be a big impact here. But what I noticed about Robert Barney there is the lane he was in kind of surprised me. Typically at Talladega, you want to take your first lap and throw it away, Evan. You want to take that first lap and ride it all the way on the top and wind up this engine. So I think that was his second lap, because typically no one's going to want to ride the first. Here's Thomas Sink up top. Look at this. This is what I mean. You're going to ride the top of that track. You're going to wind up this engine. Now, right about the tri-oval, he'll pull this thing down here to get ready for his live lap. He'll get one lap to make it right, but he is just riding the outside. I'm a little surprised here. There he's going to move down. And now for the second lap, Evan, he'll ride that yellow line as tight as possible to preserve every millisecond.
And once you're on that second flying lap and you set it up, you're going to want to make sure that you hold it to the bottom. Down the back straightaway, some drivers used to let the wheel unwind a little bit to try to not force wheel into it, but I think more and more nowadays you're going to see that maybe on the exit at turn number 4, and on that back straightaway they just try to hold low, but we'll see if there is any variance in some of the different driving styles. Right now, the time to beat, man at the top of the board is Doug Evans with a 54.889. Can Thomas Sink in the number 48 truck top that time as he comes into the tri-oval? He was about a top 10 truck in the practice session. What does he have in queue for lap number 2? First lap time was a 55.805. You can throw that one away. 54.915. That'll put him P9. So on par with what we thought we'd see from the 48 team.
Yep, there's James O'Brien. I'm assuming this is just running laps here at this point. And 54.887 for him. But while we were watching, Tom, Jacob Dunn last second got up there and creeped up and took the pole with the alert you saw on the top of your screen.
So Dunn goes to the top, clock strikes 0, and just like that, the qualifying session has drawn to a close. So let's go trackside and take a look at your starting grid for today's Goodyear Commercial Tire of Fort Wayne 215. It is indeed a pole position in the end to Jacob Dunn, the 54.869 best of them all. He'll bring us to the green flag tonight, next to the team hype number 38 of James O'Brien. Back on row number 2, third place starter is the Miracle Flow Motorsports 41 of Doug Evans, and in fourth place is the Tabula Rasa Esports number 12 of James Morgan. Back on row number 3, P5 starter is the Solpec Precision Racing number 2 of Steve Baker, and in P6 it is the Regan Bogue Motorsports Neon number 14 of Matt Gagnon. Back on row number 4, P7 starter is the number 63 of Drew Wilkie. To his outside, it is the Regan Bogue Motorsports green entry. That's the 27 of Steve Loving. And on row number 5, P9 starter, the Whataback Racing number 60 truck. That is Colton Lane. And rounding out your top 10, the Grinds Racing 48 of Thomas Sink.
Moving back, starting with P11, number 33, in Rapid Theft Racing, Kyle Dewey with Nicholas Saraf from Knucklehead Motorsports on the bottom of the 67. And we'll wait the grid here. Bradley Holly with Woodaback Racing in the 184 with Garrett Austin next to him with the Golden Octopus Motorsports Gold. Richard Regan Jr., Regenboog Motorsports Neon with Zachary Burnt, Golden Octopus Gold again back in P16. P17, Robert Barney, part of Regenboog Developmental with Patrick Calgill on the outside in P18 with Solid Rock Motorsports. Then rounding out 19th and 20th, Colton Easterday with Regenboog Motorsports Green, and Brett Adams with the BBRC Adams family, the 23 truck back in P20.
It takes us just past halfway, where you'll find on the next row the number 6 for the Regenboog Developmental Group of Evan Williams starting 21st. Into his outside, it is the BBRC Adams family 32 of Blaine Adams. Next row, inside, 23rd on the grid, the number 24 Rapid Theft Racing Chevrolet of Andrew Sharp. To his outside, another of the Regenboog Developmental trucks, that's the 16 of Dustin Bumgarner. P25 on the grid tonight, the number 30 Team Hype Silverado with Josh Conker, and to the outside it is the Solpeck Precision Racing 62 of Mark Kalin. 27th on the grid, the number 89 Gold Octopus Motorsports Gold 89 is Zachary Williams, and the Regenboog Motorsports Neon number 4 of Reese Bogue. And through your top 30, P29 tonight, the number 42 J-Lass Racing Machine, that is Mike Toomer Jr., and in 30th it is the Grinds Racing 19 of Nick Hunter.
Back into P31, that bright magenta-colored truck for Jeff Evans, part of Miracle Flow Motorsports. And then 32nd is Nicholas Schwartz, also a Miracle Flow Motorsports teammate. Back in 33rd, Nathan Deering, Regenboog Motorsports Green, with Stacy Hunter, with Riding Shotgun Motorsports in that number 71 truck. And then 35th, Nick Byer, Golden Octopus Motorsports Black, with Ted Lowendick, all the way back in P36, a number 13 machine. 37th, Stephen Brunner, Golden Octopus Motorsports Black, with Daniel Knight in the Riding Shotgun Motorsports. And then we'll keep the grid moving to 39th, and last on the grid, Brandon Walter, part of Team Hype.
So it is a packed full grid for race number 1 of the SimGamingExpo Truck Series here with the Premier Sim Racing Group. Let's talk you through the tale of the tape 75-minute timed race, Derek. This will be for all races this season.
Yeah, I'm excited for the 75 minutes, a little bit longer race, a little bit longer to build a strategy, a little bit longer to maybe see how to make things work. And you can see the temperatures on the bottom of your screen here, 83 degrees Fahrenheit, a fairly cool Talladega racetrack there on April 1st, just past 5 p.m. virtual sim time.
Well, it's a new era for the Premier Sim Racing Group, and we're happy that you're spending this Wednesday evening with us here on Green Flag TV. Field in the hands of a number 3 Chevrolet. How fitting for Talladega as we say, let's go racing! Up to speed through the gears. Inside will build a advantage early. The outside will then look to use that high towering 33 degrees of banking to their advantage. They head down the Alabama gang back straight away for the first time. Still nose to nose and 2 wide through the field.
I notice on the restart, Evan, you notice how on the top lane, James Morgan, that second truck in line, that black and red Talbot Rossi Esports machine, wasn't quite ready to go. He kind of made a little bit of a gap between himself and James O'Brien, and that's why the bottom lane is a moving. And Doug Evans is pushing Jacob Dunn across that bottom lane.
Lap number 1 going to come to a close this time through, and on the inside, pole sitter Jacob Dunn leads lap number 1 of the Commercial Tire Goodyear of Fort Wayne. 2:15 is in the books, and you can see the clock top left of your screen. 1 hour, 13 minutes and counting. The sim estimates that it'll be about 81 laps if this race were to stay green. Of course, the time is the big factor, and we'll talk about that as the race goes on. Really, in a place like Talladega, the conversation is just make it to the end, right? Be there after the first, or if necessary, second trip down to the pit lane. We'll talk more strategy as it plays through, but you know, if you're in 40th position, maybe there is some incentive to make some moves early, but really all you can do in the first run at Dega is lose the race for yourself. So we'll see. Do these drivers maintain patience? It looks like there is a decent amount through the field, but how long does that last?
Yeah, as we look across these big, wide camera shots, I mean, all you see really is two wide and single file racing. You don't see a whole lot of, 3 wide. And sometimes that's the way Talladega goes into shorter races. The 25, 30 laps we run in the official, iRacing series. You see people get impatient. They want to get there fast. But I think because of that 75-minute clock, you're going to find a lot of people who just, don't feel that need to get up there. And I also think right now, across this big race, the guys in the back, listen, better odds you avoid the wreck, and better odds you're maybe riding 80% throttle, and you're already fuel saving. As weird as it is to use that word at Talladega, fuel saving, it is something to worry about.
And obviously the drivers leading these lines, no fuel saving going on if you're behind the wheel of the 3 or the 38 trucks. You're up front, you're full throttle the entire time, and then progressively, the further back you get in line, either the less percentage of the gas pedal that you're using, or some drivers will feather the throttle, but I think trying to, maintain steady pressure on the pedal at about 50% or whatever you're able to manage, and using the draft to make up for the difference is the best advised decision. Again, no big movers early on. These top 9 almost exactly in the order in which they started. Some drivers further back making some moves. Mike Toomer Jr.'s up a couple of spots, make it plus 19 from 29th to P10. So he is on the move in the number 42 truck, and now 3 wide, and it's Toomer topside, pushed by the 56 of Richard L. Regan Jr., and they're going to go all the way to the race lead at the end of lap number 4.
Yeah, that felt almost inevitable as Toomer now goes from top to bottom. When you said he was plus 19, I started instantly looking across the track, wanting to find that third lane, because there's no way you were going to be plus 19 or more. But look at that, Toomer moved down, and that top lane kept him moving. And now we got a new driver, and it's Richard Regan Jr., sort of the head or co-head of Regan Bogue Motorsports. Now leading that top lane. They are technically in the lead at the moment. But boy, Evan, in just a lap, look at this whole new herd of cars. Those days of Dunn and Doug Evans and James O'Brien leading feels like a yesteryear of sorts, doesn't it?
It's funny, we talked about how, everybody was kind of staying calm and in position, and then it goes to show you really just how complacent the field was maintaining the 2 wide, because the second those trucks created that third lane and wanted to make some moves, they went for it and made that move quickly. Again, Regan made the move. Reese Bogue up 24 spots. Zachary Williams was up there. We already mentioned Mike Toomer. Brandon Walter gained 30 spots. So that was kind of the express lane for everybody who took the toll road up on the third lane. They got a bunch of spots in bulk. They kind of moved their way back down and have become now part of the return to 2 wide racing. So I'd call that a pretty successful endeavor for those drivers. All 39 trucks, by the way, who started this race, still on the lead lap, still in the lead draft. Nobody with issues getting to the grid. And again, it's great for the first race of this SimGamingExpo Truck Series. Nearly a capacity field, 39 trucks on the Talladega High Banks.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting, by the way, whether it was they were part of, Regan Bogue, Neon, or the developmental, that whole herd of people who made the third line, those were all teammates. They're all in a voice chat together. And you can tell by the way that was coordinated, by the way that worked. Like, all of them really got up there. I think Mike Toomer Jr. was the only I think he just sort of kind of benefited by getting lucky on the timing. But that was a great team effort here. So now it's James O'Brien. And it's been James Morgan up here, I think, up front right now. Yep, there's Morgan in the bottom in a black and red. These are our 2 lane leaders. But James O'Brien, that top lane, is like 2 car lengths ahead at this point.
In the outside, to the benefit of 2 car lengths, do they go down? Yes, they do. So O'Brien pushed by the 56 of Regan Jr. They make the move down. And now we'll see if they're able to maintain on the bottom, or if, just like they were able to go to the race lead, courtesy of the outside, if the number 4, Reese Bogue, will have the same benefit. The inside, the place to be, to the tune of 3 truck lengths. So if you're that 12 of James Morgan, sitting third, are you happy sitting third? Or do you go to the outside once that top gets a draft? They're a little bit discombobulated up there. You're going to build some momentum down the back straightaway. Now that they're all in line, it's going to be a lot easier. Again, it's early. No need to rush, but that's never stopped somebody from wanting to get out front and lead laps. There are 7 laps in the books. We've already had 5 different drivers to lead laps in this race.
Yeah, so we're going to keep an eye on that. 5 lead changes already, 5 different leaders. It's a great, great number here at Talladega. So that whole thing I said about fuel saving, someone heard that and said, let's prove him wrong, because that is out the window. You don't have that many different lead changes and that kind of 3 wide movements if fuel saving is at least the mantra. So obviously it feels like for Regenboog Motorsports, I don't think fuel saving is in their, in their desires right now. So now we're riding on board here. You see what it feels like. It's right in the middle of this herd. There's cars moving back and forth, cars to your inside. The speed you can kind of feel just from this camera. You just kind of watching those little white line markers go by. Just, feels it's how fast the draft moves in these trucks. I mean, I think of the 3 top series of NASCAR, the trucks, the Xfinity, and the Cup Series, these trucks have the most draft suction of any of the top 3. You can really get a massive run on the draft here if you're not careful.
And when you get that draft, you really can't hesitate either, because yes, the draft is really strong, but again, these trucks, maybe compared to some of the other cars in the NASCAR National Touring Series ranks, are a little bit more momentum based. And obviously the Cup cars and everything at a Talladega, for example, you're going to be running, tapered spacers on the trucks and the cars, which will limit some of the height of the, torque with the limited horsepower. But with these trucks specifically, if you get that run, you're going to have to commit to it. Hesitation not going to be your friend. And again, that's why I think we saw the outside lane work so good. To your point, likely that group will coordinating in a Discord channel or a team speak call, what have you, for the Bogue guys to be able to get up front. And since everybody went back to 2x2, there's been some swapping here or there. That advantage that the inside lane had over the outside, no more. The for Reese Bogue right there alongside O'Brien for the lead. The 38 on the bottom, the advantage at the strike the last time. But once that kind of big money move happened up top, things have settled back in. And it's funny to say they've settled in when you're too wide at 185 miles an hour. But for Talladega's sake, pretty calm since then.
Yeah, and there's really 2 schools of thought, I think, when it comes to super speed racing. Either you want to be in the front or you want to be in the back. Very, very few people are stoked about being in the middle of this pack, right? If you want to be up front, because the benefit is you're leading. And it's not impossible. We've seen it both in sim and in real life throughout the years. Yes, the wreck can, quote-unquote, move forward and catch you. But typically, the closer you are to the front, the least likely you are to be in the wreck. So that's the benefit of leading. The benefit to be in the back is if a wreck happens up front, you at least want to think you have the time to get on the brakes, find some clean track, get woed up, and avoid a couple. And then maybe you avoid the first wreck. You avoid the first 2 wrecks, maybe, if there are that many. And then you kind of start to sift your way through, what's left of the field. So 2 very different approaches. But what I like about this, though, is no one has really gone extreme, Evan. If you look at the back of the camera shots, there are some drivers hanging in the back. Maybe Bradley Holly, Josh Conker, Colton Lane, for example, are back there. But they're still hanging on the back of the draft. No one is taking the extreme of going, 3, 4, 5 seconds off the draft and is losing time by the second.
And you see a third lane creeping into the picture right-hand side of your screen. The challenger, the 27 is Steve Loving. He's got help courtesy of the 15. That's Nick Byer in line. The 26, Robert Barney, also there as well. So they're going to try to make some move. We'll see if the Microsoft Toyota is able to build some speed. Again, there are major numbers in favor of the bottom lane and the top lane, but they're not pushing. They're not giving 110%. They're using some of the fuel saving we referenced earlier. So right there, that was contact between the 2 off of 2 and down the backstretch, where that 15 physically on the bumper of the 27. It is well advised to get off of the bumper in the corner, and then you want to try to time this up so as you come down the bank, you don't want to get back on that bumper and try to push right away. And you can see the speed difference. The outside lane is on the move. Every time you get a big run like this, I kind of look to that middle lane, right? Is anybody tempted to jump out and join the party? And almost right on cue, jumping up to the outside, the number 99 of Brandon Walter. He liked what he saw. Now he'll go high side, and the Team Hype Chevy all of a sudden leader up top. How long does that last, though? The 67 of Nick Seraph thinking about it also. And now that 99 of Walter, his move kind of stalled them out. He goes back down to the middle for now.
It's funny, I saw that older style Microsoft Windows logo, and all I could think of in my head was the old slogan, where do you want to go today? And well, to the front, apparently is the answer to that question, at least for him. He was trying to get up there, but you're right. That top lane, I don't know if this is a lack of pushing. I don't know if they need maybe one more car to make it happen, but they're just having a hard time getting to the front. And, seeing that they're just kind of up there. And listen, that's a scary spot when you're stuck up there 3 wide, up against the wall, because, I talked a few laps ago about the what ifs if a wreck. Boy, if a wreck happens, the fact that you're sandwiched into the wall is scary. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide if a wreck breaks out.
Going to be nearly impossible to make passes right now in the bottom lane of the racetrack. So you may ask, well, why would you sit down there? In fact, why are there more trucks down on the inside line than anywhere else? I believe it's exactly to that point. Drivers know that if they want to get aggressive, you can go to the middle, you can go to the outside, and I am far from a professional driver on the sim, but anytime I'm up top 3 wide, especially early in a race where, again, you have a long way to go, still a little bit over an hour left on the clock in this timed race, there is no escape route. If there's a truck in front of you, a truck behind you, a wall to the outside, a truck to the inside, even if you're in the middle, right? Same thing, you're middle 3 wide, you can't go anywhere. I always felt a little bit safer on the bottom. I don't know if it actually translates into more wrecks avoided, but I felt better on the bottom because I could hook a left and at least try to get out of the way.
There's all that pavement down there. That's what you're saying to yourself on the back straight, especially. All that pavement down there. I should be able to avoid it. That's the thought, right? And also, I think the benefit to the bottom as well, besides the wreck avoidance, is you have that yellow line, which, by the way, has been updated with the new iRacing track refreshes. Looks a little bit more bolder now, a little bit bigger. But that line is sort of your guide marker for the corners, right? The goal is to keep your tires as close as humanly possible to that yellow line. When you're in the top lane or the middle lane, I mean, you do have those white markers that the dashes, the road hashes, or what do you want to call them, but it's not quite as noticeable as that big, bold, double yellow line. So that's why I like the inside. I like having that visual marker. Oh, what a wreck!
1900 gets out of the way, but it's trouble behind him. Robert Barney, one of the drivers involved. The 95 of Easter Day comes sliding to a stop. Sounds like Seraph also might be involved in this one, and it is yellow flag number 1. 15 minutes into the race and on lap number 17, and it all started. We'll wind it back looking at the 67 because I think that was kind of where this all started in the center of turn number 2.
Yeah, a couple of trucks are going to retire. You see the fatal darkish gray smoke coming out of the back of the 67 here. I see Garrett Austin's going to have some mandatory repairs. And let's watch it in the middle. I think it's going to start from the middle here. Watch this. Someone is not clear, and up in the wall he goes. Just try to get back in that middle lane, and there was nowhere to fit.
He wanted to come back down, but the 27 behind him of Steve Loving had already committed to filling that gap. And when the 67 came back down, Steve Loving opted to not give him a break. And that 67 turned himself across the nose of Loving. Loving then, of course, takes a pretty big hit to the left rear of that truck into the outside wall. And probably 4 or 5 trucks total getting a decent amount of damage in that one. And it'd be the first time in this race that we slow things down for a caution flag. You see the leaderboard left-hand side of your screen of the current run order. Let's go for the onboard perspective. This was the best seat in the house or the worst seat?
Yeah, so right there you see, and Loving this, could not let Seraph in. And that's what that camera almost doesn't show, because what you don't see from that camera, Evan, is there was people almost pushing Loving behind him. If he'd have lifted, he would have been the truck, to have turned around. Here's pit stops, though. Not surprising. James O'Brien is down. Richard Regan. I think the whole field's going to come down here. Look on the right side of your screen. One of our new features, not only the pit delta times, Evan, but where's the individual pit stop times for certain drivers on the right side of your screen.
And it's going to be weighted with those top 4 drivers. You'll see the names shuffle around a little bit just based on pit stall position, which is determined based on qualified, but everybody likely going for similar service. O'Brien was the leader. We're watching him right now. 2 tires on that truck and fuel. He's going to spend a total of about 10 seconds in the stall, but he does not win the race off of pit road. That honor will go to Matt Gagnon, also with the two-tire call, but less time spent in the box. 9.4 for Gagnon compared to, you see everybody else, 11 this. Those are probably two-tire stops. Anything 15 and up, likely 4. So it seems like Gagnon took less fuel than even the other two-tire stoppers to basically spend 2 whole less seconds in his stall.
Yeah, I'm curious what may have caused that. And to have 2 seconds less is a pretty significant difference. But of course, with everyone not needing amounts of fuel, that's easy. It's a tongue twister. That's why we're only seeing 2 tire stops, because if we were filling the trucks up all the way, you might as well take 4 tires. But of course, at Dega, tires are not the most important thing, Evan. So it's kind of I don't know. I like to take 4 tires when I can, just to have that peace of mind, which I think means something, but not a necessity.
See the pit times remain on the right-hand side of your screen, and obviously that kind of speaks for itself. Those are the drivers that obviously picked up some pretty severe damage in the accident. So Sharp, Seraph, and Loving all down on pit road. You see Barney spent upwards of a minute down there, so it's a good look at all the drivers who are obviously trying to get some extended repairs. It was not wholesale service, though. Steven Bruner with a 0, zilch in both categories. He decides to not come down pit road, and after starting this race in 37th position, he is your new leader.
Yeah, this is interesting. Hey, listen, you got to try something every now and then to see what happens and what sticks. But in a case where you're now, 15, maybe almost 20 minutes behind in fuel, I don't know. I mean, hey, why not get up front? Why not get the point for leading a lap? Why not try to get yourself up there in that 11 truck, and make a name for yourself if you can? So here we are. Lights on the pace truck, I believe, are off. So we're 1 to go here. There's no double filing yet, so I kind of got thrown off here. Let's talk new rules. One of the newest rules I think will be different, Evan. The leader is going to get lane choice in the PSR. Steven Brunner chose the bottom lane. I suspect at Talladega, I suspect everyone, probably, except unless you have a great teammate behind you, is going to pick the bottom lane. But in the PSR, leader gets lane choice, and restarts will be on the leader.
And in a place like Talladega, that gives you a long berth in terms of making that decision. You see Nathan Deering at the top of the screen. He'll get an end-of-line penalty, so he will be sent to the back. Looks like Seraph in the 67, Austin 34, both of those trucks no longer on the racetrack. Their night may be done. Steve Loving still on pit road for some extended repairs. Pretty much everybody else grouped up and ready to go. So there are some race casualties from the first accident. Sounds like those drivers' nights may be done, or at least in the case of Loving, maybe not likely a truck that's going to be able to contend for the win. It's always funny because, you look at a truck that gets a little bit of damage and you think, okay, this is the most aerodynamically sensitive style of track on the calendar. And you may say, okay, well, that makes sense. It's the most aerodynamically sensitive. So if that truck has bodywork damage, they're likely not going to be able to contend. But the draft is a fickle thing, and it is the great equalizer. And never say never, because we'll find out if those drivers are able to get back into the mix. So Steven Bruner in control of the field, the only truck who did not come down pit road for service, is going to be the one who leads us back to the green flag in this one. 54 minutes on the clock. Green flag back in the air.
Evan, black flag, Matt Gagnon. Oh, he's in the grass. What's he doing? That's far down there. He jumped the start. He has a black flag. I'm sorry, not Gagnon. That's Bruner. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so Bruner down in the 11. He pulled off from the race lead.
But Gagnon has the black.
Yeah, I was trying to listen in to the driver radio to see if he would give us any indication of what's going on. We'll try to get an update, but it appeared that Bruner pulled down kind of under his own volition. The only thing I could think of is kind of a controlled escape like that would be some sort of a hardware issue. Obviously, I guess his wheel was still working, but the first thing I think of is a monitor going out, and to just get out of the gas and turn it left. If we can get an update on Brunner, we will. In the meantime, though, we will await to see if Gagnon will be forced to serve the penalty. He will not. So Gagnon has had his penalty cleared. There is no penalty to the 14, so he'll stay up front. And Brunner, who was leading, is back up to pace, but off of the lead pack.
Did he just? Two things are possible. Either he had some kind of hardware thing, which that seems more likely. Because my first initial thought was maybe he didn't really want to lead, and he was just trying to claim the bonus point for leading under caution. But that was an extreme version of riding the grass. If you don't want to lead, you could have done that a much better way. But luckily we have live in-race admins, and so that was able to be cleared. Nathan Ray went ahead and fixed that black flag for Matt Gagnon. He is good on the top lane.
So, one of the more unique restarts you'll ever see, but we are back underway nonetheless, and 2x2 throughout the field up at the front. It's O'Brien in the 38 leading on the inside. It's the 14 Gagnon leading on the outside. I mentioned off at the top, SimGamingExpo, one of the big partners here at the Premier Sim Racing Group, and George Anzaldo is standing by. We'll get a word with him in just a moment to tell us a little bit more about the SimGamingExpo and how all of that is coming together. So we're going to get him lined up and be talking to him in a moment.
See if we can grab him in here and invite him in, and Evan will let you talk to George here.
It's been a long time, George. Pleasure to talk to you, and you've got some exciting stuff coming up with this SimGamingExpo. So we wanted to first say thank you for being a part of the Premier Sim Racing Group with the title sponsor of this SimGamingExpo Truck Series. I've seen it basically all over social media. It's been creating a lot of buzz, and as one of the brains behind the operation, wanted to give you a chance to tell our viewers a little bit more about what they can expect if it's something they're looking at attending.
Thanks so much, Evan. And first off, just want to say how incredibly excited I am to be associated with PSR and the SimGamingExpo Truck Series. It's a great honor and an opportunity, and I'm really excited about it. But yes, so I'm putting together the SimGamingExpo. It's taking place here in the Chicagoland area, September 5th through the 7th. We're so excited. It's time. We've all been waiting for this, I feel, as sim enthusiasts, especially as sim racing fans. We've just been waiting, and finally it's here. And yeah, so we're bringing together all genres of simulation under one roof. I can tell you that sim racing will definitely be heavily represented. We have some great things in store. We have a competition area for sim racing. We'll have a main event stage where we'll have companies launching new products and having discussion panels. It's just going to be awesome. And of course, there'll be a huge exhibitor area where people can come and try out the latest gear and tech from all of the simulation industry. And it's going to be really exciting. And of course, we finally now have our own show here in America and North America where we can celebrate together as a community. I'm so excited.
And take me back to kind of the groundwork of this, right? You mentioned it's been something that we as kind of a collective community, I think, have been waiting for in North America for quite some time. And to see everything coming to fruition, I know for you has to be so rewarding, because I can only imagine everything that has gone on behind the scenes to make this possible. Obviously, you've been a part of the community for quite some time. Where did this idea originate, and why is 2025 the right time to see this come through?
Yeah, great question, Evan. This was something that really the idea sparked many years ago, prior to COVID. As you know, just being, as you said, being a part of the community for such a long time, I just saw this huge void, and nothing was happening. There was no movement, and I felt if no one was going to do it, that somebody had to. And I said, well, why not me? So yeah, it has been a long road. Putting together an event like this is incredibly challenging. It definitely it presents a lot of challenges. There's a lot of hurdles that we've overcome, but we're here now, and we're starting to bring on more and more exhibitors, and this event is happening. And I'm really excited about it, and just looking forward to celebrating with everybody.
And I've been checking out the SimGamingExpo website, which for those who want to take a peek around and know what they can expect, that's simgamingexpo.com. And you mentioned it's not just sim racing exclusive. So obviously this audience here for this broadcast may be sim racing exclusive, but I also think a lot of people who participate in iRacing will participate and enjoy other sim types as well. So beyond the sim racing category, what other genres can we expect to be included that currently are, or that you have a desire to make sure are part of this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, of course, other driving sims, certainly like trucking, but we should have farming there as well. We've been talking with Giant Software, and so we're very hopeful that they'll be in attendance. Of course, the flight sim community is another huge component to simulation, and we will have some flight sim, some full-on motion sims for flight. So we're also looking forward to that. Simcraft is going to be there. It looks like they're going to have 2 sections. They'll have one for sim racing and flight. And as you know, there's so many companies out there that they have products that are more than just racing. For example, like Moza and Thrustmaster. So this is also an opportunity for those companies to showcase not just their sim racing gear, but their flight sim. So I would say that flight would definitely be the second largest category, and then we have other groups, for example, like train and trucking and farming. So yeah.
And I know one thing that I've enjoyed, you mentioned a list of the exhibitors, some of them that fans can expect to see if they come. And again, that list as well is on the website. So I encourage all of those who are interested to go and check it out. But I know from conferences and expos that I've been to in the past, one of my favorite things to do is obviously, meet creators who are a part of that space. I've been to a few throughout the years, and I know that there will be some special guests as well lined up if that interests folks as well.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the one thing that I thought I should mention too, that this event is definitely, it's being built as a community-driven event. It is one that is for fans, by fans, and so that was something that it was very important to me with regards to getting this thing off the ground and running. We really are going to lean heavily on the community and the content creators to get the word out there so that, again, like we just want this event to really make a statement the first year. We want to show that North America is a very viable and important market for all these companies that are supporting the simulation industry. And so, yes, those content creators are going to be an integral part, not only in the promotion, but also, again, leaning on them for their creativity and insights, because, they have their finger on the pulse of the community. So, of course, like we want to make sure that we're doing the absolute best job that we can to give everyone what they want. We want, when people to walk through the door, that they see this and they're in awe, or they just say, okay, whoever did this, they understand what I like. They get me. And so again, being a part of the sim racing community for a long time, I feel that, I have a particular vision, but of course I want to know what everyone else wants to. And so again, we just want to create something that brings people together, gets them excited, and allows them to celebrate together as a huge community. And yeah, so that's our goal there.
Well, I know that September will be here before we know it, and I know that you've got a lot going on to make sure all this runs. So we'll let you get out of here, and we're super appreciative of your time. Before we do, though, anything that we haven't covered that you want people at home to know? Again, I know SimGamingExpo.com, that site has a ton of info for those who are interested.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say if you're looking to stay on site, visit our website. The room block is limited, so definitely try to book rooms as soon as you can. And yes, tickets they're on sale, and also follow along for your favorite content creators, because they will have some discount codes on tickets, and just stay tuned for more information. We're bringing exhibitors on every day, and there's more yet to come, so stay tuned.
We appreciate the time. Thank you for, again, a couple of things. Number one, for being a part of the SimGamingExpo Truck Series and the folks here at Premier Sim Racing. But again, thank you for giving us some time, sharing more about it, and looking forward to seeing how the event goes off later this year.
Thanks so much, Evan. Let's see if we can get the PSR guys to come and compete live at the SimGamingExpo. We'd love that. We'd love to have you. So lots to plan, but yeah, good things to come. Thanks so much.
We appreciate his time. And listen, this is a dedicated group. I think we might be able to talk him into it. George Anzaldo, big part of the brain trust behind the Sim Gaming Expo. So we appreciate his insights on that. And again, appreciate his participation in Premier Sim Racing as the title sponsor of this Sim Gaming Expo Truck Series. The green flag action continuing on the racetrack. We've seen a couple of drivers here and there out of the pack. However, up front race leaders, Ollis fine, still 2x2.
Yeah, in fact, a little bit, I think in this run, do I dare use the word, Evan, it's kind of calmed down since we went green. We're 2x2 up front, but look at that top lane. It's not as deep as it was in the first run. It's a long, long line on the bottom lane here. It's maybe feels like a lot of drivers are really hanging in the back now, just kind of biding their time for whatever reason they have personally. But that's a tremendously long line. Look at that back. There's one truck stuck up top. I think a couple of trucks off pace. We saw the field passed by Andrew Sharp 3 or 4 laps ago. He pulled down out of the way and got lapped by the field. But here's Nathan Deering back in 34th. And look, he's just hanging on to the draft, just kind of hanging out like he's on just a casual Wednesday drive.
And it pretty casual drive being at the back of the field, although we talked about situations that we weren't comfortable in. Yes, I know that at the back of the pack, they're all able to save. You don't have to run 100%, but I always felt a little bit nervous being the last truck in line, right? There's no safety net. If for whatever reason there's a check up in front of me, I have to roll out of the throttle and I check up a little bit too much, there is no safety net to help me out. If I lose touch with the draft, I lose touch with the draft. Again, he probably is not stressed about it. He's able to still feather the throttle a little bit there because, yes, the draft is pretty strong, but I don't know. Just made me a little bit nervous being the last truck in line. But that's a 34-truck-long lead group. Deering, though, not the last truck on the lead lap. That is Steve Loving. He's headed into turn number 3. Race leaders in turns 1 and 2. So he's got a while, but he'll be in trouble for getting lapped sometime soon.
Yeah, it won't feel like very long to him because the speed difference in these trucks is pretty massive in draft to out of draft. So they'll catch him sooner than he wants. He's just kind of hoping for a caution to come out. You see the picture-in-picture. That's the leaders in the top, and that's Loving in that Microsoft machine on the bottom right. So you see he's at the start-finish line right about now. And then you just kind of mentally count in your head how long it takes the top of the screen to get there. Again, it feels like a long time, but with the amount of time they're chasing him down, maybe only a few laps, and they'll find him.
Yeah, and you look at the lap difference, 53.7 for the leaders, 54.9 for Loving. So it's almost, a second exactly between the two of them. So, yeah, 15 seconds of a difference in terms of the lap time, maybe 20 laps, 15 laps or so is when that'll start to be a concern for him. The first yellow and only yellow we've had so far today, I would not really say was built out of people being overly aggressive, right? We didn't see any big blocks or any big sweeping moves. It was just a miscalculation on one truck who moved up and tried to come back down. That being said, though, nobody's really gotten too crazy on this run. You see the 62 Mark Kalin on his own on the outside of the racetrack just to show you how much fuel saving is going on the middle and the bottom lane. Mark Kalin solo is going to drive from 21st position to the race lead.
And there's a little bit of confidence boost in doing that, right? When you say, hey, listen, I'm leading the field. I mean, look at that gap he has. That shows you the fuel saving the rest of the field is doing, that Mark can gap that field like that at a super speedway. That's almost unheard of if everyone's at full power. But, of course, now the downside, if you're Mark Kalin, is you're not saving fuel by doing that. So it's almost he's kind of given up on that task and just wants to lead some laps here. But that's Steven Brunner. That's the 11 machine up front that they're about to catch here. And this will get kind of spicy depending upon what the 11 truck does. If he wants to stay in that lane at the bottom, that's his right to do so. But it's going to get really spicy with 2 wide racing with everyone trying to get around him. I'm just going to move up here and I think get to the top of the track.
And there's the look off of the back as you see the field now spread out and the 62 looking for a way by. But Brunner going to be right in the middle of the racetrack and kind of shut the door. I also think the 62 machine wasn't that worried about it either. He'll park in line, and maybe Kalin sees this as an opportunity to use the 11 as a 2-truck tandem to kind of call the bluff for the rest of the field on all right, if you guys want to save some fuel, I'll use this truck and draft away from you. I don't know if 2 can defeat the masses, but Kalen clearly wanting to work with the 11.
And remember, Brunner's the truck that pulled off the track right on the start here and really put himself way off pace. And now he's just about to get lapped. I mean, he's literally the end of the lead lap right now with the leader right behind him. You know, I was concerned for Mark Kalen, though, that when he did that bump draft on Brunner, Evan, I was concerned about the speed difference. I was actually kind of concerned that he was going to wobble that 11 truck really hard, you know, with the difference in speed. But they did a good job at managing that bump draft. And boy, look at this. I said there were only a couple cars up top before. Now there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Everyone else is riding the bottom at Talladega.
Not shocked that that's going to be the popular decision, and the disruptor, Mr. Mark Kalen, is a big part of why this field has become more strung out. Is he's been putting pressure on drivers. Some have wanted to go with the numbers, and now as the inside checks up about 7 spots back on the bottom, the outside all of a sudden the place to be with an advantage. Drew Wilkie, big run for the top side, had a bit of a connection issue there, stalls them out, but again, with everybody on the bottom, that middle lane, or in this case, the outside lane, with only 2 wide going on right now, open for the taking for anybody else who wants to initiate. But now that they've strung out a little bit, overall speeds are up 190 miles an hour that time into turn 1.
Yeah, this is the part of the super speedway racing that I think really leaves spectators confused, both in real life and in sim racing. A lot of people don't like this fuel saving. It's a necessity, and I understand as a driver why we do it. But as a fan, we're always trying to think of ways to fix this, right? Is it smaller fuel tanks? Is it shorter races, longer races? But somehow the drivers always find a way to map it out, don't they? To figure out how to push into this fuel saving. There's Mark Kalen, by the way. Still got that Titanic Lego set in the background. I wish he would get that thing put together. I'm excited to see that thing put together, Evan. I don't know when it's going to happen, but of course, see all the other stuff in the background, that Goodyear tire Mark's got back there, and this is a beautiful sim racing room.
It is, and I don't know if he even has a place once he builds the Titanic to put that Titanic. I just got the Ferrari Lego, the giant one, because for years I saw the McLaren one, and I saw, you know, all the other ones that came out, Mercedes, and I said, if they do a Ferrari one, I'll do it, right? So I got myself the Ferrari Lego. I don't know where I'm going to put that, and that's got to be a third of the size of the Titanic. So maybe we'll challenge him. Wonder if he can get it done before the end of the season.
So he's waiting. I do know what he's waiting for. He's waiting for a light set that they sell separately.
I've seen those.
So that it'll be, because he said it's too difficult to put it together and then unassemble for the light set. So that's what he's waiting for. But you know, Lego sets are a pretty common thing across the league. We'll talk about him more. But here's Evan Williams. Look at that 6 truck, that purple, white, and black machine. There's, I guess, just his wheel, the gloved hands, is that a one big curved monitor? That's a massive curve in that monitor, if that's one monitor.
It's tough to tell. I think I see a bezel
seam
right where the wheel is. And again, that triple or an ultra wide, right to your point of a curved monitor, that kind of seems to be the popular course of action. I personally love the ultra wide look, but I do have triples just because I rarely drive. So I think 3 separate monitors helps for, you know, purposes like this on calling a race. But I always felt like the bezels were distracting. I know there's, you know, ways you can get around that and some cool tricks. But certainly, if you are used to racing with that type of FOV, with basically those screens wrapping around you, no matter what configuration, what kind of monitor you use to do it, it can be tricky to go back to singles. Now, there are some of the top drivers who have ever driven on the sim who only ever did it with a single monitor, as James Morgan clocks in best lap of the night in the 49.9 range. So they have picked up the pace immensely. But I don't know. Once you go to triples, it's hard to go back.
Oh, it's very hard to go back. Yeah, I've raced in triples for 2 years, maybe. I don't think I could ever race with a single monitor again. I think I would be lost if I had to do that. And that's pretty commonly, you know, even drivers who do VR say, hey, once you do VR, you know, it's hard not to do VR. It's just what you're used to. And I think what we saw there with Evan Williams set up there, they sell those little plastic covers for the bezels between your monitors. I think that's why it didn't look as obvious. But yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, if we have Bradley Holly's webcam, talk about someone in the PSR who does Lego sets. Brad will have a bunch in the back whenever we get to him. And then Legos is a pretty common theme. There's Brad's camera. Look at all those. Look at all the. I keep saying Legos. That's not the word. It's Lego. There is no plural for Lego, actually. But look at all those Lego sets in the background, Evan.
Yeah, that's next level with the shelves in the red LEDs and then the webcam on his head. So I know the non-visor visor cam's a good angle, but when your background's that cool, you can't not take a look at both. There you go, and there's kind of the best of both worlds, right? The ultra wide on the bottom, so one wide curved monitor, but then the dual upper monitors. Looks like top right is going to be a track map for him. That's going to be helpful if we can get to green flag pit stops, because then it would allow him to know where the rest of the field is, where the leader is on the racetrack, and then the top left, obviously timing and scoring, to be able to know lap times and whatnot. And again, I don't know if the full lap time leaderboard is as critical at a plate race, but at other tracks when you're trying to see trends and who's moving up and who's moving down, that may be kind of peak there. I don't know. Ultra wide, track map, timing screen. I don't know if there's anything else I could ask for.
No, not too much, right? And where that leaderboard is helpful for a super speedway. Obviously, you're not worried as much about the speeds and the times, but you're able to peek up there really quickly and find your teammates and know where they are on track. And that's got to be crucial for Brad to be able to look up there and do that and make that work. By the way, look up front here. This is Drew Wilk. He is leading this field. It's now Wilk, Dewey, Toomer, Kalen, and Bumgarner, your top five. A very different top five than where we were 10 minutes ago.
And it's single file now once again for almost the entirety of the field. A couple of the trucks high here and there, maybe around 8th, 13th or so, but this field is really kind of locked into this run that is bringing us past halfway. That has already come and gone, and now on the doorstep of 30 minutes to go in a season opening race at the Talladega Super Speedway. Most laps led on the night still belonging to James O'Brien. He led 17 earlier in this one, but back in P20 has not been able to cycle back through to the front of the field. And Drew Wilkie enjoying the sights for how long, though? Here comes a couple of challengers. The 6 truck on the outside. Evan Williams going to go all the way from about 16th to the race lead in a lap, courtesy of Reese Bogue and friends.
Yeah, Reese Bogue doing an amazing job pushing there. See, there's a little bit of wobble. That's scary to see, but you also realize the more you race this place, that little bit of wobble is normal. It feels scary to see it, but we all use the expression, hold your line, when referring to a super speedway. But the truth is, no one really holds a line here. Everyone's kind of always bobbling back and forth. That's just the bumpiness of the track and the way the wind's throwing you around, the way the draft's throwing you around. But great job by Reese Bogue. Pushed really hard, got him up to the front, as now you see all the team names, by the way, on the left side of your screen.
Is there's a look, and again, Regan Bogue Motorsports, even if it's the developmental group, if it's the Neon team, or some of their other ones, it is Regan Bogue trucks running 1, 2, and 3. And I mentioned it was Williams, courtesy of Bogue and friends. Well, they very clearly worked together, much like they did on the opening laps of this race, to be able to make those moves to go up front. And now they hope that things can stay green, stay calm, nobody else follows suit, and they can just enjoy the track position. Maybe they felt like, hey, we sat back in traffic long enough to save on, the amount of fuel that we felt like we wanted to, and now we're able to kind of go up here and dictate pace.
Yeah, and that may be where they are. Or again, they just might feel more comfortable leading. Maybe they got someone in front of them who they thought wasn't doing what they wanted. Maybe they were saving too much, or they were lifting too much, or they were checking up, and when you go up and you lead, that's not your problem, right? So you kind of get to have that moment. If we can continue our driver webcam carousel, speaking, coming back to that Lego theme, Patrick Cowgill, Pursher, is out there. Patrick also loves to build Lego sets with his son, always posting photos of it. He used to have a big car in his webcam shot, Evan. I think he took it down. Yeah, it used to be right there on top of that brown box, but have a big F, I think it was either an LMP2 or an F1 car off on his side. So Patrick loves building Legos. I said it again. I'm going to fix myself with that somehow. I need like a Lego version of a swear jar. When I say Legos, that's like $1 or something.
See, I'm also guilty of saying Legos pluralized. but I feel like, to me, it's like, okay, Lego sets is probably the correct pearl. You see the top, it's just Lego. There's no S. But I imagine to a Lego connoisseur, that's what, like saying I let's go drive NASCARs, right? Like, I feel like it's like the same type of sin. So
Yeah.
no S in Lego. We'll try. But you see the live look into his sim rig, and you see all the championship plaques, we'll call them, in the background there. A super accomplished driver, hoping to bring a lot of that success over here to PSR.
Yeah, great job. And the reason I thought Lego was a cool theme for tonight, Evan, I think super speed racing has a little bit of like that Lego mindset for some people, because from the outside it looks super simple. Boy, you see those Lego sets that maybe like, Mark had the Titanic background, or Brad had all those sets around his room, all the Star Wars stuff and whatnot, and it looks really simple, doesn't it? You're like, oh, I could do that. But then you really get into the intricacies of building Lego, and you realize how hard it is and how much strategy it takes, and how you have to be patient, how you have to bide your time. And it's not just get in there and do it all at once. And that's what super speedway racing is, right? It's all about being patient, knowing when to do this, when to do that, kind of reading the room, reading the instructions, so to speak. And it's just really, really difficult. But by the way, speaking of which here, that's Patrick Calgo. We talked about the fuel saving going on. And now he's got a little bit of help behind him, and that's, I think, Brunner in the 11 who's lapped. But Patrick Calgo is trying to take the lead here at Talladega.
Trying to go to the race lead, and some drivers on the radio talking about pit stops. There are 27 minutes left to go in this race. That gives them maybe 30, 31 laps total. So if you, again, try to do those translations, is this the fuel number to be able to go to the end? 3 trucks down pit road for service. Looks like that's going to be Burnt, Barney, and Loving down and in.
Yeah, and I would think right now this would be the stop. I would want to push it till later. I'm a fan of running as long as I can so I don't get stuck out by a yellow, but with less than 30 minutes to go, there's no way this isn't your final stop if we stay green. That just makes sense. Here's Richard Regan Jr. in that red, white, and blue machine there, number 56. He's just kind of riding along here, and he's currently up in 4th. You see him there? It's got, look at that. It's got all but Richard really is the king of advertising. His name, that's everything right there. Want to know who sponsors Richard? Just look at his green screen.
Pretty good. And, what I've seen some people do is, they'll get the step and repeat, but half the logos are behind him. That's framed well, right? He's right in the center of the shot. It's professional right there. One more truck down and in, this time for some additional service. You can see Stacy Hunter into the box. Clock hits 8, 9, etc. Probably going to be 4 tires. I would expect like a pit stop in a 15-second range or so. And look at that, 15.4. I appreciate when they don't embarrass me on those predictions because you're basically running it out of fuel, unlike the first trip down pit road where you didn't need to fill the whole thing up. So you basically got the time to go down there, fill it up with fuel completely, and get 4 tires at the same time. Although Stacy Hunter, black flag at the same time, not what they're looking for. Meanwhile, here we go. Pit stops for the race leaders. Williams, Bogue, side by side to pit road. Gagnon might have cut it too close. He's coasting down to the pit lane.
Yeah, I was starting to say that's pretty close there with the speed he was doing. He was dropping speed there, but everyone now down pit road. Williams, Regan, Cowgill, Easter Day, all here down pit road. And we'll see the variance in pit stop times and who got in their box correctly and who can come back out and merge with their teammates will matter here as more and more trucks are finding their way down pit road.
And this is by far the busiest pit road has been. Nearly 20 trucks down pit road at once. That leaves us with a little bit more than a dozen who have yet to come down pit road. Lead truck off of the pit lane for that group is going to be Richard L. Regan Jr. and Reese Bogue. They were the 2 out first. Evan Williams off 3rd, then Conker, then Cowgill. For the drivers who stayed out, they're in this time. Doug Evans, Kalen, Hunter, Lowendick, and more. The final 14 trucks down pit road all at once.
All at once. It was like a Black Friday sale on pit road right there with how many people sort of rushed in there at once and got down pit road. But here they come. There's Doug Evans in that bright green machine, the Miracle Flow machine. And there is, of course, your pole sitter That's Jacob Dunn up front. Now, what I would expect to see, Evan, from these drivers is a little tick less on pit road. They should not need as much gas to go to the end. Let's watch the Dunn pit stop here. 10 seconds, 11, 12. Let's see if he can get off pit road a little faster. Not by much or at all. Where is his time? It kind of moved on me there, but see 14s for those drivers and 13s. So about the same time.
Yeah, Kalen, I think, slowest to that group at a 15.6. Fastest might have been Cowgill at a 14.9, but that's all the same strategy, and that's ill-advised. I would not recommend going too wide on the apron. You can't blend up till right there. You got to wait for that blue cone to pit exit to let you get back out there. And one thing you noticed by the high closing rate is that it was the trucks who pitted the lap prior who had the better cycle. So Reagan, Bogue, Williams, and others have all been able to drive around, and they've cycled through to the race lead. Now, Nicholas Schwartz in the 171 truck, he was in pit road last time, missed the pit stall. So it is the drive of shame back down pit road for Nicholas Schwartz. The 171 will get serviced, and that will complete your pit service for the afternoon. But obviously that's going to take him well out of the lead pack, and he'll have to hope for a yellow in these final 22 minutes to be back in contention.
So here's the bigger pack back here. The problem is they're too wide. If they want to catch the group up front, ideally you want them to be single file, right? You want them to get in line and sort of go up there and get them. But man, when you see Regan, Bogue, Williams, and Conquer lined up as 4, that's a little scary. Those guys are great pushers and great teammates.
And now the question is, you've got that lead breakaway of 4. Is there any way that those 4 drivers can stay ahead of this battle for 5th on back that has the strength in numbers and at the moment a slight advantage in speed? They are side by side, battling for position. Not normally the strategy you want to implement if you're trying to catch trucks up the road. And in fact, the last time by, the lead group of lesser trucks, those lead 4, were faster than this group as a whole. You see a new best lap for the 19 and Nick Hunter. He drafted up to the back of this group, but if they want to fight 3 wide right now, and those top 4 trucks have got enough fuel to push it to the end, it's not a race-winning call for P5 on back.
No, because that side draft inherently will slow all of them down in that second group. It's just going to make them a little bit slower. They need to get in line and push and go. And that's the benefit right now with having Regan and Bogue back-to-back 1 and 2 here. Is they're comfortable. They're best friends outside of sim. They work together on things in real life. And so they're comfortable. Regan, I guarantee you, is perfectly comfortable having Reese Bogue push him around this racetrack. Man, look at this mess. I mean, they've got to work this out. I mean, oh my gosh, there's a wreck in the back.
That's the 3 truck, Jacob Dunn, and it's not going to matter in the end because they wadded him up anyways. Jacob Dunn with some heavy right front damage. The 3 truck, it's just going to come to a park. Dunn's night is done. And now, well, the advantage for those top 4, good is gone because we will restart in the final 20 minutes of this race, and it is going to be one happy family, or at least one large pack once again.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll be happy, but they'll be a pack. That is true. Let's watch the replay. There's Dunn in the middle. Oh, someone came down and got into Dunn. And then Dunn just got tagged and up against the wall and down to the grass, and unfortunately his race is over.
Tough break there. And again, if you're not one of the drivers involved in the accident, it kind of rewards, I don't want to call it bad behavior, right? Because, I mean, you're fighting for position, you're doing what you want to do, but it rewards bad behavior in the fact that if they wanted to keep driving like this, it was not going to get them up to the race leaders to fight for the win. And now they'll have that opportunity. That onboard look gave you the idea of how all of that one came together. And it was all up the road of Jacob Dunn in the 3 machine. It was just bad timing for him. He was wrong place at the wrong time. There was a bit of a stack up on the outside, and the 2, Steve Baker was the one who got spit sideways and hooked that 3 hard into the outside wall. Baker also gets some damage in that one. The front end of the 2 is pretty heavily damaged. I would be surprised if he doesn't come down to pit road under this yellow.
Let's watch this from Thomas Sink's point of view here. That Thomas is going to be, I think, the truck in the back, I think. Yep, that grinds machine just got a little too hard of a push on the 2, maybe a little off center. And away it went, and Tom's going to get a little bit of damage from Jacob coming up there. I don't know. I thought he hit him, Evan. I don't know. I mean, look, by him, I mean sink into the 2, but yeah, that's crazy. I mean, listen, what a tale of two cities, or a tale of two stories it is here. The last time you and I got to call a race together at a super speedway, we watched Jacob Dunn win a fuel mileage race and claim a league victory, and now here he is, likely out of the race.
And that's how Talladega is. It's, again, very hypocritical in the fact that, you can talk about a Talladega where you can win one week and be on the hooker or be on the record the next week, get hooked into the wall like that, right? I mean, he didn't do anything wrong. But I do say, or I will challenge that some people, Derrick, will say, it's a complete free-for-all at Talladega. And it is certainly the most accessible, right? I mean, I would feel comfortable, maybe not a league race, right? But jumping into a race at a plate track because I feel like I could be in it. But there are nuances that it is not a surprise when, even in a race that's wide open, you'll have the same names to that point. May not work out for D. Baker, and may not work out in this case for Jacob Dunn and others, but you'll see at these plate tracks, the Daytonas, the Talladegas, even the Atlantas, those same names pop up. And I do feel like sometimes people discredit the art of racing at a super speedway.
Well, again, it comes back to that Lego analogy, right? It's a lot more intricate, a lot more involved than it looks. There's a lot of decision-making, a lot of patience, a lot of everything involved in it. And I think the word almost, I think you were looking for earlier, this is the word I use to describe it, is the draft brings parity to the field. And that's what makes it, everyone think it's a free-for-all. It's not. It's still a lot of strategy. Sure, there's a little bit of luck in racing, but there's so much parity in the field because of the draft. That's what makes it exciting.
And now the time to start making some plans. Where are your teammates? Are they near you? Are they an option? What is going to be the move that puts you up front to the race lead? We are not going to see, with the restart inside of 15 laps to go, people driving around single file. There's kind of the team breakout. And again, the Regan and Bogue Motorsports Neon Group, or Regan Jr. and Bogue, on row number 1. They got their developmental driver in Evan Williams right there. That's somebody to look for. But how about Walter, O'Brien, and Conker? Those team hype cars are going to be lined up nose to tail 3 rows deep, right? What are they going to be able to do from the outside of rows 2, 3, and 4? It is, again, 16 minutes, 15 minutes it'll be when it comes by to the green flag. That is still way too much time to kind of abandon teammates and go for broke, right? There's a long way to go in this race still. But you're not going to see those, wide open doors for anybody to kind of step up and make a move. You're going to have a plan of attack and do it out of the gate.
Yeah, and you're right. The team hype, the 468 is exciting to see. You see the mirror on your screen, the similar paint schemes. In a way, obviously Dunn, you would say, is probably the biggest loser out of this caution. But I would also argue his teammate, James Morgan. That's a 2-car team right now in Top Rossi Esports. So when Dunn goes out of the race, Morgan is sort of, a driver without a country, so to speak, right? He just doesn't have that teammate to push around. Now, Morgan's been around a bunch of these drivers a long time and has some respect in the field, so he won't be abandoned. But boy, when you don't have a teammate, it's a little bit of a lonely feeling here with about 15 minutes to go.
And of the 39 trucks who started this race, I'm showing 32 still on the lead lap. A couple of them are damaged, likely not in a competitive state, but I'd say there's 30 race trucks that could still realistically win this race. And it's very easy to Monday quarterback, or I guess in this case Thursday morning quarterback a race like this. This is race number 1 of a 9-race championship. We're going to be back here in a week's time, and we're going to go racing at Bristol, and we're going to be having our own, similar but different conversations about attrition and making it to the end of the race. It's very easy when it's a plate race week 1, right? If it's, Dega in this instance, if it's most leagues like Daytona, to kind of go for broke. But you can still have a good points night here at Dega, get a good finish, and carry this momentum into week number 2 and hope to fight for a season championship. Although I don't know how much of that foresight's happening from behind the wheel. With 14 minutes left to go in the season opener, green flag is back in the air. Regan Jr. gets a good jump, but he's got a gap behind him. Evan Williams not on the bumper, and Reese Bogue to the lead on the outside by a nose.
Yeah, big approachment out there. I'm a little surprised that Regan chose the inside, and I guess the inside's going to form up pretty quickly. But I would have thought if I was him, I would have wanted to have been to the outside myself, and I would have wanted to have been, as a leader, the driver sort of, controlling that 4, 6, 8 team hype group and kind of keeping them in my rearview mirror directly. But Regan chose the inside and kept a teammate in Evan Williams behind him. And boy, look at that third lane. That's Doug Evans. That's maybe all of Whataback Racing up there, or their friends and fellow teammates or just colleagues. Now was to quickly work the top of the track. Look at that long line.
Yeah, it's going to be a matter of time. They've got the strength in numbers. Who wants on? The 62 of Mark Kalin saw that developing. He'll jump out for the middle lane, and now he'll become the leader. 7-8 truck strong on the outside lane. Up front, a little bit of jockeying for position. Bogue from the bottom to the middle. The 4 sees the run coming. Does anybody go up and shut the door on Kalin? Or is the 62 going to look for the race lead down the backstretch? Even inside, middle and out, full throttle, 3 wide, make it 7 rows deep, close it in on 10 minutes to go, and it's Kalin now on the outside, a slight advantage.
That whole thing about lifting, saving, that's done, folks. We are full throttle, full bore. Oh, wrecking in the bottom. It's Kyle Dewey, one of the 2 Rapid Theft racing drivers, spun around here out of turn 4.
That truck will come sliding to a halt. He was in position number 26 and was still part of the 3 wide. That's how far back that stretched. And we'll reserve judgment until we get a second look. This one, though, reminded me of what we saw with the first wreck on the afternoon. And it was a little bit of disagreement right
Not
there.
clear.
So, yeah, he's in the middle. And there was a spot on the bottom. But by the time he decided to make that move to the bottom, yeah, it wasn't clear anymore. The 60 was there. I also saw some flames out of the tailpipes on that 33, so I think it was he tried to move down and checked up at the same time. And again, if you're that 60 truck, a Colton Lane, you're just holding your lane. 33 comes across your nose, and Lane's going to have to hope that he doesn't get any front-end damage on that one. Blaine Adams also kind of took a hit in the 32 truck. Curious if that one's going to be damaged either.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for both those drivers. And that's probably the one thing I think a lot of people maybe don't always get right with super speedway driving is this right here. And it's what you said. You can't lift and change lanes. If you're going to change lanes, you have to do it fast, and you have to do it quickly. A lot of times, a lot of lane changes lead to wrecks when drivers stop and think about it. If you want to change a lane here at Talladega, you have to do it. And there's the hit to Blaine Adams. But really, overall, I think Adams sort of, I don't want to use the word lucked out, Evan. That's probably over-exaggerating, but I mean, he kind of kept going straight and doesn't really seem to behave like that truck is too broken.
I was just watching the field kind of check it up here. Sorry, under the yellow flag as some drivers were making decisions on if they were going to pit or not. I believe pit road was closed, but drivers with damage wanted to come down pit road anyways, obviously to get some damage repaired. So that's Steve Baker onto pit road in the number 2 machine. So there was nearly a wreck there in turn number 4 that caught my eye, but I think everybody is able to avoid it. Baker's down pit road. But sorry, I just saw a bunch of trucks checking up, and it was almost bad, but not too bad. We'll be fine. One thing we always talk about on a slightly different point as well, Derrick, in these races is, if you're at 12 laps to go and you get a yellow flag, okay, you're going to lose 2-3 laps out of that. If you're in a timed race and you get a caution flag at 10 minutes to go, I'll round it to make the math easier, then you're losing a higher percentage of what's left in this race. You're going to lose, 5 minutes of that. So yellows now take out greater opportunity and take out those laps for drivers back in pack to try to make some moves, which in turn means they're going to be that much more desperate when we get back underway.
Yeah, so one of the other rules that's unique to Premier Sim Racing and the SimGamingExpo, Truck Series, is that if we were to caution again, and we were to caution for a point where we think a full caution would end the race, race controller has the discretion to shorten that last caution to get an attempt of a green flag finish. So I think to sort of cap your point in a different way, the concern you have now is at most you have 2 restarts here, right? At most. And maybe 1, depending on how long this run goes. You may not, even a 1-lap run may not get you fired up again. So that's the concern. And all that does is drive the aggression. Look at the names in this left of your screen. Maybe 11th, a Bradley Holly, a Drew Wilkin 12th, a Nick Byron 13th, a Daniel Knight in 14th. They don't have time to be patient here. If they want to win this race, you have to go, 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 to borrow the phrase from Nolan Rimple, who's a part of Green Flag TV. And you can't be patient. So that aggression is going to kick up and only raise the likelihood that something happens on the track.
Well, I know that at this point, talking about the yellows is beyond the jinx. We'll blame one of the earlier ones on Nolan, but now it's kind of a realistic part of the game. Lights out on top of the pace truck. Green flag will be just, I think, outside of maybe 6 minutes to go. Now, we did kind of talk, previously about the scenario where, okay, you get a yellow with 5 minutes to go. That might not be enough time to restart under normal circumstances. Race control has said if we are in that scenario, typically you have 1 lap where pit road opens for the leaders, for lapped cars, then the 1 to go, and that takes up about 6 minutes. There is a chance if we get another yellow that there will be an attempt to speed up basically the yellow flag process to allow us to get another restart in. I think I'm totally on board with that, right? I think the full yellow flag procedure doesn't really hurt anybody when it's eliminated late in the race, because anybody pitting at this point would be damaged trucks. There's not really a lot of fuel strategy involved now that everybody's been able to get fuel and a couple of yellows to save to the end. So, again, I'm with you. 1, maybe 2. We'll see how it works out. But if you're Regan, Kalen, Bogue, Williams, if you're in a top 4 spot right now, you can't assume that there's going to be another opportunity for the field to try to get at you. So you have to treat this like the final restart.
Yeah, I definitely would treat this like the final restart. And by the way, look at this here. 1 to go, come around through the corners. And Richard Regan has chosen the top lane. This is curious. I said I would do it, and I believe in it with teammates lining up correctly. But boy, at a super speedway, Evan, historically, the bottom lane gets a better start than the top lane.
And remember, that 3rd lane is going to be wide open. Who makes the first move? Do you block if you're one of the leaders? And who ends up as the eventual race winner in this one? It could be for the final time with just over 6 minutes to go in Talladega. Green flag back in the air. It's the outside, the place to be. So Regan chose the top.
Whoa.
Huge advantage. He'll drop down with 3 truck lengths.
Look at that huge gap throughout the field. A lot of people apparently were asleep at the wheel, so to speak, because there are some massive gaps in this line. So look at that first 3, Regan, Bogue, and Conquer, before you get back to Kalen, Lowendick, Evans, and others.
And now the inside, 7 truck lengths of an advantage. Middle lane, top lane, they don't have the speed right now. Does anybody else jump out of line? Here it comes. Kalen to the outside. Ted Lowendick, the push. 2 trucks up top. It's going to open the door for the challengers.
There we go. Up top, this lane's going to get momentum. It's going to build. And what's going to happen is that draft works together. They're going to really suck up quickly to those front 3. But that top lane needs more people behind it. It needs Evans to get up there and others to get up there and push Mark Kalen or go around him if you want to find the lead here with just about 5 minutes to go.
3 wide now, first truck on the outside. That looks like it's the number 31 of Machida Patrick Cowgill. They just don't have the momentum. So 2 lanes on the bottom. 30 truck of Conquer goes up. There's trouble behind. Couple of trucks into the wall. Evans is slow, keeps it pointed forward. We stay green. Less than 5 minutes to go. Maybe beyond the point of no return of being able to restart this race if they can't go to the end. They got about 5 minutes on the clock, 5 laps worth of time. There was a second look at the wreck. That wasn't one. And up front, looking for the lead is Josh Conquer.
Well, boy, I know we don't have a hockey team in Alabama, at least on the NHL level, but that looked like an NHL level body check that Jeff Evans got right there. That was a wreck.
Big issues just past the start-finish line. The 17 of Daniel Knight is one of them. And will that be a race ender? The 41 also involved in this one. That's Doug Evans, the engine gone, expired. Zachary Williams, another driver involved. And this is going to be awfully tight on if this thing is able to go back green or not. We'll wind the tape back. It all started, I think, near the 17 of Daniel Knight, and then multiplied from there.
Yeah, we'll wait and see how it's going to line up. But let's watch the replay first. Oh, that's the 42 and the 17 just coming together. Just two drivers, two trucks trying to take one space, and just did not work out. Well, no word from race control yet. I know Evan and I are both listening in tightly to the radios to see if we can get any word about what's going to happen. I think the part of the question is going to be how fast does the field catch the pace car? And then race director Nathan Ray will make that decision once he can see what we look at. Oh, there's James Morgan caught up in it as well. There's Doug Evans. Boy, within a lap, father and son both involved in major incidents at the end of this race.
And drivers asking the same questions that we are on, is this going to be able to get back green? Under the last yellow, a full lap at caution flag pace was about 2 minutes and 16 seconds. So if they can turn the lights off on the pace truck this time by, it might be just enough. I mean, we're not going to get to the stripe at 2:16, but if you can turn the lights off before the clock hits 0, then you might get a 1 lap shootout. We will wait to see the moment of truth, and you got to wait a little bit longer here at Talladega than you do in Daytona on if the lights on top of the pace truck will go out as it comes to the start-finish line. Josh Conker, the leader, watches intently. Is it going to be his, or are they going to get another shot at him? Lights on the pace truck have stayed on, and we will wait for official word, but I believe this race is going to end under the yellow flag.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. We were kind of hoping to see it there. There's that old song, you know, the night the lights went out in Georgia. Those drivers were hoping this was the night the lights went out in Talladega, but looks like they're going to stay on, and we might end it this way. If we do, Josh Conker, Mark Kalin, Ted Lowendick, your top 3. But what we're being told, Evan, what we believe the deal would be is that in order to shorten the pace laps and iRacing, it sounds like you have... Oh, lights are off. Never mind. We're going to go racing. I thought we were done.
I thought that was it, and it had been decided.
Well.
But the field halfway down the back straightaway, the lights on top of the pace truck have gone out, and we are 1 lap to green. Again, we will almost certainly not get to the start-finish line before the clock strikes 0. I know that if we were under green flag conditions and that was the condition, then the logic for timing and scoring would display the white on this lap that we are currently on. But because we're under yellow flag conditions and it will not restart until after the clock hits 0, I don't know. Is it going to be a 1 lap shootout? It seems to be that way. The field is doubled up. They're ready to go no matter what. And Josh Conker appears that he's going to have to mount a defense for the race win here in Talladega. He chooses the outside line. Mark Kalin selects the inside line. 2.66 miles to decide this race. The white flag is now currently being displayed. Is it going to only be a run to the start-finish line? Green flag is back in the air. Josh Conker leads us to the stripe. Are they going to go beyond that point? White flag stays in the air. We're going all the way. 1 lap to go.
Boy, what a great call by Conker, putting Richard Regan behind him. That is a great call because Richard is a master. He's been a master at this track all night. I would want to stifle that driver behind me. Boy, they're going to move up by Reese Bogue. Not clear. Reese Bogue's in the wall. We're going to stay green. No cautions in the last lap. Oh, big wreck.
Yeah, Bogue's in the
Evan
air,
Williams.
Byers in the air, massive accident on the back straightaway, but here we go for the race lead. Josh Conker, the advantage. Is there anywhere for Richard L. Regan Jr. to go on behind him?
There he goes.
Regan goes high, Conker goes low. Now he needs a push, but Kalen gets to the inside. There goes Conker, almost airborne. Who makes it through to the start-finish line first? Contact for third, but Mark Kalen squeezes on the bottom for the SimGamingExpo Truck Series win in Talladega.
What a mess that was. Crazy. Seeing multiple black flags have popped up in the past lap. Colton Lane, I think we saw Easter Day. I thought I saw come up there maybe as well in the middle of that wreck. But ooh, there's another hit after the wall. But right now, first race, first win, Mark Kalen.
A show in the Goodyear commercial tire of Fort Wayne 215. Mark Kalen, quiet throw of that at the inside lane, not by choice, but because that 30 truck chose the outside, and most of the theatrics on the final lap of this race were up top, and Kalen held his line, held the yellow, found the gap just to the inside, and he's doing burnouts. Mark Kalen, first winner of the Premier Sim Racing SimGamingExpo Truck Series. What a show to kick things off. And I've seen some interesting finishes. This timed clock always brings some excitement, but I can only imagine what was going on behind the wheel for those drivers coming to what ended up being the one to go.
Wow, there's a lot there. Let's go and take a look at the results and see how they run top to bottom here. We'll start up Power P1. Mark Kalen, part of Solpeck Precision Racing. Drew Wilk, P2, with Bradley Holly, James O'Brien, and Matt Gagnon rounding out your top 5. And then Richard Regan, Ted Lowendick, Mike Toomer, James Morgan, and Nathan Deering rounding out your top 10.
And continuing on through, it's Dustin Bumgarner, Steve Loving, Zachary Burnt, Robert Barney, and Zachary Williams, the top 15, with Thomas Singh, Patrick Cowgill, Brett Adams, Steve Baker, and Nick Hunter in the top 20.
Moving back into P21 is Josh Conker, with Jeff Evans behind him in 22nd. Then Nick Byer, Daniel Knight, Brandon Walter, Evan Williams, Colton Lane, Colton Easterday, and Blaine Adams at 20th, rounding out the top cars on the lead lap. Then Reese Bogue, one lap down in P30.
And at the back of it all, drivers who did not have the night go according to plan. I want to highlight some of them who we talked about earlier. We saw drivers like Schwartz lead laps in this one. Both Doug Evans and your pole sitter Jacob Dunn led laps earlier. They're 34th and 36th respectively. And again, Sharp, Seraph, and Austin not able to make it the full scheduled distance in this one. And that is a look top to bottom at your full race results here tonight from Talladega. Let's see if we can get a word with your race winner. Mark Kalen leads 7 laps on the night, but none were more thrilling than the chaos and confusion coming to the one to go. We're trackside with the driver of the number 62 truck now. And Mark, first off, congratulations, first race winner of the SimGamingExpo Truck Series.
Hell yeah, boys, let's go. I hope y'all enjoyed that ending there.
Well, listen, it was a crazy night. There was a lot of chaos, confusion, and I just want you to tell us not only how you won this race on the one to go, but that whole sequence coming to the white flag. We thought the race was done when the light stayed on the pace truck. Then halfway down the back straightaway, we're going at it, and you find yourself on the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was going to be over when that last yellow came out. I didn't know we were going to get it under 2 minutes to go there, but I had pretty much settled into Josh winning that race under caution, and then they get 2 to go, and I'm like, oh, hell yeah, there's my chance. Let's go. So I'm on the radio with Ted, and, I'm like, as soon as he goes, you give me all the pushing you can do. And I wasn't going to lift for nothing. I can't believe it, Evan. I mean, it's wonderful. It's awesome. I love it.
I had mentioned at some point when it started to get into the late race restarts that, hey, big picture, it's week 1 of a 9 race, championship. There's good finishes here that can propel people to have a chance to be a champion here with the Premier Sim Racing Group. But, it's week one. It's a plate track. You got to go at it. What's it like to obviously not only end up again with this group again so quickly as this Premier Sim Racing organization has come together, but then to find yourself in a familiar place, and that's back in Victory Lane?
Yeah, honestly, Evan, it's surreal. When PRL shut down, for anyone new watching out there, that's the Precision Racing League, and it was very surreal. I didn't think we were going to get this season off as quickly as we did, but I'm very glad, to say the least, that we did. We have an awesome group of guys here, terrific drivers, as it was probably showcased very well on the broadcast tonight, because we have a great group up there in the booth and behind the scenes as well, there at Green Flag TV. So yeah, it's surreal. And then for me to end up in Victory Lane for the first race of the new league, I mean, that's just icing on the cake. I don't know how any other way to explain it. It's an amazing feeling, and I'm gonna hold on to this one for a long time.
And we go right back at it for the next race, Bristol Motor Speedway. From the biggest track on the calendar to maybe the shortest of them all. What's the outlook going to be in these trucks as we head to the Coliseum?
Well, notoriously, the trucks are pretty loose at Bristol, I feel like. And it's more of the high groove that is dominant there once it gets going. But Bristol, as good as I am on the short tracks, with short tracks being my forte, Bristol is not my best because of that high groove line. I always find myself smacking the wall or not going high enough. So it's a very thin line to not cross, and I end up crossing it more times than not. So it's going to be difficult. I'm just going to be hopeful for a top 10, and anything better than that will just be a magical start for this season.
We'll let you get to celebrating the first ever winner in the SimGamingExpo Truck Series. Before we do, though, and while we got you, anybody you want to say hi to?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to give a shout out to my wife for supporting me and watching the races and cheering me on. She came down screaming at me when she saw I won the race on the broadcast upstairs. So I want to give a shout out to her. I love her. All the boys at Whataback and my teammate Steve for Solpec Racing. You guys up there in the booth, and all the managers here at Premier Sim Racing for getting this league off the ground. Everyone has stepped up in a major way and just done a fantastic job getting everything going. So I want to give a shout out to those boys and everyone out there in the race for mostly keeping it clean at the front until the last lap. So great job, everybody else. And yeah, hopefully the rest of the season is just as awesome.
We appreciate you being a part of this one, and we appreciate the time, Mark. Congratulations, race win number 1.
Thank you, Evan. You guys have a good night.
So your race winner in this Goodyear commercial tire of Fort Wayne 215 is the 62 of Mark Kalin, first winner in the history of Premier Sim Racing. And I'll hand things off, Derrick, to you. I believe we've got tonight's runner-up, Drew Wilkie, standing by, but he was there at one point, but I think he got a couple options. Who you got?
So first off, we'll catch up with Drew Wilkie next week before the race. He had to go put his daughter to bed. He said he sent me a message.
That's fair.
So, yeah, that's priorities, right? So let's go ahead and catch up with P3 finisher and the man with the most Lego sets in all of PSR, Bradley Holly. Brad, what chaos tonight?
Yeah, the last 15 minutes was getting sketchy, both in the cockpit and on track.
Yeah, it felt that way, right? This felt like those last 15 minutes is sort of the wake-up call happened, and everyone went, oh, it's go time. But that last caution, we're coming around sort of uncertainty with this new rule. Were we going to go green? We're not going to go green. Which would you... Obviously, you finished third, so you're probably happy we went green. But were you confident we were going to go green?
No, I wasn't. We weren't sure exactly how iRacing was going to handle it if we changed it to, our little green-white checker thing with the time limit, because when we crossed the line at the green flag, there was no time left, so we weren't sure if it was going to work or not. And fortunately it did, and now we know for future events, and hopefully we can keep putting on a good show like this.
So that last lap, is it literally just lay on it and pray? Is that where you were?
Oh yeah, I completely forgot that I had to go to the restroom that last lap. I was my eyeballs were floating the last 15 minutes, and then I don't know if you guys saw the cameras, but I hopped out of my seat and twisted my knee because I had to run so fast.
Well, you no similar to that injury. That's not going to go on workman's comp anywhere, I don't think. So don't do that. So that'd be bad. All right. Well, next week we go to Bristol. Obviously, a much shorter track, but in some ways the speeds, still kind of exciting. What's the outlook for Bristol?
It's going to be Bristol. It's a short track. Short track spring cautions and, high bank, very, very short reaction times that we have at Bristol. So a lot of things can happen. Hopefully we can keep it green with 40 trucks, but we'll just have to see how next week goes.
All right, Brad. Well, great run tonight. Congrats on P3. Anyone you want to thank or say hello to?
I want to thank you guys for broadcasting us today. I look forward to watching the race and maybe taking a nap the first 45 minutes because I'm sure that was boring.
Oh, don't miss it. There's a Lego conversation you'll be all about. Don't worry about it.
All right, I'll look forward to that. Definitely want to thank Richard for putting all this together. He's been putting in a lot of work to get everything organized quickly for us to run this season, and everybody else that showed up for tonight. So far, looks like we're going to have a pretty good turnout and pretty good league.
All right, well, Brad, listen, great job tonight, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's Bradley Hollis finishing at P3. And let's go ahead and grab a quick interview with the man who finished P5. Had a couple stories throughout the race, Matt Gagnon. Matt, you have fun out there?
I wasn't until that final restart. That was something else. That was a finish right there.
So it looked like at one point maybe you ran out of gas during the green flag run. Is that what happened?
Yes, I was actually coming into that final cycle. I was about half a lap short, and I didn't realize it until we were about 5 to go, until we were trying to start the pit. So by sheer miracle, I clutched it in, going into 3, dove it down into the apron, and with 0.1 gallons left in the tank, I made it to my box.
And I know you've already pulled him up for the night, but I call you the man with the weirdest glasses in all of PSR. The ski goggles. Look at those things. So put them back on. There you go. That's classy.
Of course. What it's a race without what's a race at Talladega without the infamous goggles?
Well, any race in PSR, hopefully, with the goggles. All right. Well, Matt, listen, great run tonight. Great job finishing P5. And we'll see you at Bristol.
Thank you very much, Derrick. Thank you, boys, for broadcasting tonight. This was wonderful.
Thank you very much. All right, that's Matt Gagnon, and that will round out our interviews for the evening, Evan.
We appreciate those drivers for giving us their time post-race to chat, and you can tell a lot of them just excited to be back, right? This core group of drivers go back years and years and years, and happy that they have found a place together with Premier Sim Racing, and happy that we've been able to stay a part of it with now the SimGamingExpo Truck Series. And yeah, that's Talladega for you. A couple of trucks in the air, some bumpers flying. We got all the way through it without a big one. So I guess, halfway down the backstretch on the last lap of this race, which we didn't know if it was or was not going to be the last lap of the race. Why not? It's always something new. But that was one of the bigger wrecks I've seen in some time.
Yeah, that was almost predictable in some ways, wasn't it? You almost sort of know when we go 1 to go at Dega, especially on a 1-lap restart. That almost feels predictable.
It would. I would have it no other way. It is part of Talladega. And again, for those who survive it, the Kalins and others of the world, Reagan, Gagnon, again, good finishes. Are they going to be able to turn this into some momentum, and can they compete? And maybe instead of just being the first winner in series history, could Kalin spiral this into being the first champion in Premier Sim Racing? Because we are back at it 7 days time, 1 week, next Wednesday evening at iRacing's virtual Bristol Motor Speedway. That one will be physical and chaotic, just to a different degree than what we saw here at Dega as we head to the close confines of the last great Coliseum.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. It'll be an excited race. Almost as much contact. Just about, 2 miles less of racetrack to do it in.
It is going to be a fun one. There's some classics on the schedule. Rockingham, Wilkesboro. How about a trip to Nashville Super Speedway for the season finale? There is a lot coming at you this year with Premier Sim Racing, and we hope that you are a part of it all the way through. But until then, that is it for us here tonight from Talladega. On behalf of our entire team at Green Flag TV and for the folks over at Premier Sim Racing, for our broadcast team tonight, it's Dustin Ollis downstairs, Derrick Watson, and myself, Evan Posocco. I want to say thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week. That is Wednesday, April 9th at iRacing's virtual Bristol Motor Speedway. That race and every race of the Sim Gaming Expo Truck Series can be found exclusively right here on Green Flag TV. Until then, good night from Talladega, and congratulations to the first winner in series history, Mark Kalin, race winner tonight in the Goodyear Commercial Tire of Fort Wayne 215.